So everybody knows about the internet. It's a really cool thing. You can send a picture across the world at a click of a button instantly. Um, but a lot of people don't really know what happens after that button click. Um, you don't really need to, and that's part of the beauty. It's like turning on a car, you just click send. Um, but it's actually a pretty cool and involved process, um, but it's sort of relatable. So my girlfriend and I decided to sit down and draw something about it. She did some very cute drawings, and I'll try to narrate as we show them to you. This is the internet in 5 minutes and 38 seconds. So the story really begins with ancient electronics, particularly telephones they used to have back in the day, direct phone lines. So, for example, say Bob wanted to call Sally. So, picks up the phone, oh boy, yeah, it's time to call Sally. Ugh, I'm scared. What's gonna happen? Is she gonna reject me? But at some point he has to push a button, right? And that's when it goes over to the operator. Um, the operator says, "Hello, this is the operator," and Bob goes, "Could you put me into Sally, please?" Operator says, "Sure thing, chap." And he goes, "Click, click," and he connects the cords up, right? And then, there's Sally on the other line, says, "Hello," and now you've got a direct connection. So that was how the old direct connection lines worked, but the internet is a lot smarter. A way to understand how the internet works is sort of to think of the packets of the internet. That's the image you're sending, say, to China or whatever, because they're going to take over the internet, but beside the point. They're the packets, and they're sort of like the cars on a road. Now, if you were just going to have a direct connection between, here and China, then that'd be sort of like Bob and Sally going from LA to Seattle with no other cars on the road. It's a private road. Bob might be all, "Dang, this is really nice. It's only me on the road," and Sally might be like, "Yeah, seems kind of a waste, huh?" Because it is a waste. The internet has a shared road, shared packets. Much better. But the real question is, how does that image get from here to China? Or how do Bob and Sally get from Seattle to LA? They take shared roads. But how do they know which shared roads to take? That's a problem that's called routing. And that's sort of, you can think of it like Bob has to go off and mail the White House, because I don't have health insurance, so please, Mr. President, give me some health insurance. And puts that in a little envelope and says, "To the White House," and puts it, gives it to the UPS store. Now, the White House isn't really a very exact location in that people might not know how to get there. If you gave it to a random person, you probably wouldn't know how to get to the White House. Like, let me go Google that. But, of course, you can't. It's a little envelope. So, the UPS store, or whoever, might translate it if you're lucky. You probably should look it up ahead of time, but they might translate it. So, that would be 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20500. The White House, right? And that gives very specific directions. So then all those EPS guys don't have to go, "Huh? I don't know how to get there." They say, "Oh, Washington or DC? That's east of me, I'll just keep sending it off east, Next guy to the east probably knows. Sort of. But they actually have a specific routing system that tells them, go from this distribution center to this distribution center to this distribution center. And that's how eventually it goes to the last distribution center, and then goes out in a UPS truck and goes to the White House. And there it's delivered. That process is very similar to what happens on the internet. Now, with the internet, routing actually takes a very similar approach. You've probably heard of URLs, for example. Say Bob and Sally, or when I go to YouPorn, say, "Oh yeah, let's go to youporn.com." He clicks it in, and they start watching something, might be joining in. It's Sally goes, yes, yes, right alongside it. Whatever. I don't know. Bob and Sally, their business. And that request goes out to a domain name server, and that domain name server is going to resolve it. It might be through your internet service provider to get to the domain server, but eventually the domain name server changes it from youporn.com to say 192.168.1.1, which is actually, well, look it up. But that's a specific address that you can go to. It's split up. It's got several parts to it, kind of like a mailing address has several parts to the street address. You've got a state, you've got a city, zip code, street address, and it's a similar idea that the routers recognize the first big blocks of it, send it off to other routers that might recognize smaller blocks of it, and eventually there's some router at the end, probably, that goes to the actual civic computer that's hosting that lovely website. So that's the internet.